As we're going to hear again from Phil, because Phil's going to get to do his pitch now. So please welcome again from Highways England, Phil Ellis.
Okay, I'd like to move the agenda on to talking about solutions and about what Highways England would recommend, or what we are doing and what we're planning to do, and actually what we would like the industry to do as well. So what have we done today? We've established a structured, invested program to make sure that we can understand the problem, and we can look at the solutions, and we can work with the supply chain to make sure that we've got a collaborative approach, and it's not a big brother approach, that we work together. And we think we're at quite an important stage in terms of understanding the problem, but coming up with a suite of solutions that actually the supply chain have worked with us and are endorsing as we go. And I want to show you where we are on that journey. Okay, so we've looked at solutions in terms of two broad categories. We've looked at it from a demand management point of view and a supply management. So on the demand management is, how do we make better use, and we've talked about it a little bit, productivity. How do we make better use of the resources that we have, okay? And the other side is, how do we bring more resources in? And I don't think one or the other is going to cut it. It needs to be both of those supply and demand suite of solutions to actually move this massive mammoth in terms of bringing the amount of people that we need to bear. Okay, so what does that mean? So we've got 6 broad categories of problem or solutions. One is, do we understand and can we calculate the demand that we need in a useful number that the supply chain will understand? So yes, we can talk about a £15 billion investment plan, but do we understand how many project managers that is? Do we understand how many highway engineers that is? Do we understand how many excavators we need, how much earth we're going to move? And unless we can talk in the terms that everybody needs to plan in, it's going to be very difficult to really optimize and get to the solutions quickly. Training and assurance, it's obvious, and it's the ground that everybody will go to. But unless we have better trained people, and I would suggest that probably we don't invest in as much in training as maybe we should in this industry. Increased productivity, we've already talked about as a general concept, and that is around the structure. Have we got the right incentive mechanisms? Have we got the right contracts? Are we looking at innovation? Are we investing in the future of new technologies? And on the supply side, again, resource planning. If we know what our needs are in 12 months, 2 years' time, we can actually plan to bring in or to train or to recruit the right numbers of people and not be surprised when that increase actually comes and in the shape that we want it. Promotion and attraction, okay, we've got some exciting thoughts about promotion and attraction. We've replayed it back to the supply chain. The supply chain have worked with us to develop what we think is an exciting proposition and suite of solutions, but it's not for the faint-hearted. Recruitment and retention, we can do more. Diversity has been mentioned, and we need a real cultural shift around how do we start. If we look at diversity and we're clever enough to get diverse groups to work in this industry, if we're clever enough to find that diverse talent and bring it in, how do we make sure it doesn't leave a week later because they don't like what they see in our industry? So having strong retention strategies is key to making sure we've got sustainability. Okay, these are our 5 pillars of solutions, okay? Resource planning, forward resource planning I've talked about. So we've developed and are continuing to develop a resource model that looks at the 15 billion, that turns that into something like 120 different people resources in every different program type, looking at the plant, coming up with maybe 20 to 30 to 40 different pieces of plant, profiling that, from where do you need it, when do you need it, what type do you need, and we're trying to do that with materials. So we're probably at about 20 materials as well. Promotion and attraction. Okay, so some of the faint or not for the faint-hearted solutions are a national attraction campaign. So I've mentioned this a few times. Why haven't we got an ad campaign in the industry like the RAF, like the Armed Forces, that actually promotes the good things that the industry does do, the careers that you can have, You know, how many people know that the average salary in construction is 20% above the national average? How many people know that as an excavator driver, you can earn £50,000 a year? These are all good stories to tell. We're not telling them. People don't understand our industry. Look at the high technology skills, the design skills, the economists that are needed in our industry. We don't tell the general public exactly what our industry really is. Down at the other end of the scale, to promote and attract people, we do need to change and improve our industry. So we are looking at, should we lead on a suite of solutions that looks at improving working practices and the environment. Okay, so that's a proposition that's going to the board at the moment. But again, that will need input from the supply chain to actually say, these are really the problems, and this is why we can't recruit. So I think on attraction and promotion, there's an untold good story, but actually there's more work to do to solve some of the issues that have been long-standing and systemic for 40 plus years. Recruitment and retention, I think we can lead in that area. So we've got, for instance, we've put in all our contracts apprenticeship clauses, apprenticeship numbers, targets for our supply chain to hit. And we've not done a one-size-fits-all, so we're looking at different parts of the supply chain and giving them slightly different targets that are realistic and achievable. Might be stretching, but they're still realistic and achievable. Diversity and recruitment. How do we make this industry more attractive? And as I said before, how do we make sure we don't lose the people that we do recruit in the diverse space? Talking about how do we take a leadership role across the sector, why isn't there a highways sector recruitment and training organisation that just looked at, from a sector point of view, how do we manage and optimise skills in this industry? Okay. Other industries, other sectors do it, energy being one, rail being another. Training assurance, fairly obvious. We do have a roads academy. We do have a national skills programme. We're going to look to roll that out. Regional training centres. There is a thought that actually, like the rail industry, we should have regional centres of excellence on training that are highway specific and highways context. And the first one that you heard Jim talk about was the West Anglia Training Association. We worked in development with them to design that. And that's quite a cutting-edge training centre around highway-specific skills. Productivity we've talked about, and it is around structural change. It is around, you know, have we got the right working conditions and working patterns, shift patterns in this country? Is there room for continental-type shift patterns? Clients, processes, do we manage productivity? Do we understand it properly? And benchmarking best practice and innovation. There are other sectors that probably manage productivity better. And of course, innovation, without that, I think we're going to struggle. Okay, but we can't do this alone. Without the supply chain, we really are on a hiding to nothing. My examples, and to put some context to that, we can produce good reports, we can produce good strategies, and we've seen enough of those over the years, and we've just had another one released, and I think it's quite a seminal piece of work. The farmer report that's just come out, I think possibly could be the next Egan, could be the next Latham, but actually, what did we do with Egan and what did we do with Latham? So that will be my parting message. Thank you.
Phil, thanks very much.